evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Pets Plus Live Beyond the Pages, where I, Candace Daniolo, the founder of Pet Boss Nation and a regular columnist for Pets Plus magazine, get to interview the cool store feature in the latest issue of every single magazine of Pets Plus. I see we've got a lot of people already tuning in tonight, and I just want to say hello. I know it's like the end of summer, or summer has passed, it's already fall, and you have a lot of other things you could choose to be, but you're here with us, and I'm glad that you are, because when you invest in yourself, success is in the future. It always is, and I'm so excited that you're here committing to learning some new things and being part of the pet industry community that Pet Boss Nation, my company, and Pets Plus magazine have created together. Now, I do this because I believe in the independent retailer and the independent brand. And I do believe that when we come together, we're stronger together. And I believe in partnerships. And that's exactly why I team up with Pets Plus magazine, because they also believe in the same stuff too. And they're having their very first live event for Pets Plus magazine. It's called the Pets Plus Wellness Summit. And if you want to be there, if you've been thinking about it, if you don't even know about it, then you need to go to petsplusmag.com/summit, petsplusmag.com/summit, and all the details are there. The event is happening in, gosh, less than a month. It's like a couple weeks away at this point. It's October 1st and 2nd. In Rosemont, Illinois. It's very, very close to O'Hare Airport. So if you haven't gotten your ticket yet, fly into Chicago. This is my hood. This is where I live, is in Chicago. It's where I had my pet businesses for the last almost 2 decades. And I would love to get to see you here at the Pets Plus Wellness Summit. There are lots of retailers registered and brands and exhibitor booths, and there's amazing seminars that are going to be taught that are really actually discussions. They're like panels. Every single topic is a panel full of retailers and experts who know specifically on the topic. And there's moderators. I'm honored to be a moderator for the event. And so we will be there to see you and meet you live. So, but tonight is about our cool store feature in the issue of September's issue of Pets Plus magazine. And this feature I'm so excited about. Some of you, if you saw me early, have already been teasing about what it is we're going to talk about now. So tonight I've got Mark Vitt, who co-owns, I guess. His wife, Deborah, is also an owner, but didn't want to be on camera tonight. But that's okay. Mark is filling in for both of them. And they won the honorable mention in the Pets Plus America's Coolest Store contest. So they get a feature in the magazine. And the reason I'm excited that they're here is because they have 6 locations. All in one state in one area. And their stores are just beautiful. For those of you that have been able to either go to Pets Plus Mag and look at their pictures that are on the article, or if you're in our Facebook groups and saw the pictures that I shared, people are already going crazy. They've been going crazy about the displays and how beautiful this store is. So we're very, very excited to talk tonight. And now if this is your first time coming to these shows, they're fairly interactive. You know, when you tune in live, you get to actually chat in the thread with us. So I see we've got Lee and Keith and Lisa and Whitney and Tracy and Carol have all said hello in our chat. So the chat is off to the side. Just look for the little message bubble and you can talk there. I will be monitoring the chat the whole time. And if you have any questions at all as we go along, please feel free to just type them in the chat and we'll either answer them while we're talking or we'll save them for the end. All right. All right. So let me introduce you to Mark Vitt. He, like I said, is the co-owner of Mutts & Co. with his wife, Deborah. They both left corporate jobs and, corporate America type jobs to build what I like to call their retail empire in Ohio. Now with 6 locations, as mentioned, they started their natural pet care center back in 2007. They go as far back in the pet industry as I go. We've been doing this for a long time. And they were featured as the cool store this month. That is super cool. Wouldn't you love to have a whole spread in the magazine? Look at this. Hang on, let me get to it. Their entire, look at that. They've got not just a 2-page spread. It continues, it goes on. That is super cool. So congratulations to you, Mark. And Mark, are you with us? You're with us here now tonight.
I am, Candace. I'm here.
Oh, you're here. You're here. We just got to get your camera going.
Oh.
Welcome.
Now we're on.
Welcome.
Thanks.
So I want to start with, what does it feel like to be a celebrity?
It's what I always aspired to. You mentioned my wife is super shy. This is my cup of tea. I'll take this any day of the week, though. It's nice to be recognized, and we appreciate what Pets Plus magazine has done for us. It was really, really nice.
Yeah.
So we're thrilled to be talking to people as well.
Yeah. Well, tell me about where it all started. Like how back in 2007, or I guess you probably were thinking about this and earlier than that. Go way back to the beginning. Like when you were working that corporate job, why did you want to leave that, and how did this all get started?
Yeah. So I would say the genesis was when we were living in Northern California in the mid 2000s. We visited a few different pet supplies retailers out that way, and we gravitated to a couple that we really enjoyed. But then we decided that we were moving back to the Midwest, to the heartland where we were from, and coming back to the greater Columbus, Ohio area.
Okay.
And when we got here, there just wasn't anything that fit all of our needs. There wasn't a place where you could do a dog wash by yourself, a self-serve dog wash. There were grooming spots, but nothing that was done in a kennel-free environment that we thought was conducive to what our dogs would want. And there wasn't a place that had all of the food and treats and everything that you wanted retail-wise all in one place. And that's where the idea came that, my wife said, I'm not going back to the corporate world. I don't want to go. She had left the Gap and Old Navy and Banana Republic and said, no more of that for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to start a pet business. Are you on board? And I was like, do I have a choice? So that's where we started. And it spawned from there.
Yeah. And so I love that she has corporate background, corporate retail background. What was your career?
So at the time, and so for the next 12 years while we started building the business, I worked at JP Chase, but not on the banking side or financial side, but more on the marketing side.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So she had a lot of the experience in actually operating a retail business, and I had more of the experience in maybe working with people and in a promotional perspective.
So if we look back at the beginning when you said, oh yeah, like when she says, you're going to do this with me, you were already married at the time.
Yep.
Okay. So were you nervous about that partnership? I mean, I know that I work with my partner, and there's lots, actually in this same issue, I think there was an entire article about married couples in the pet industry. And so in the beginning, were you nervous, or were you confident you could make it work?
That's why I kept my corporate job.
Okay.
Because it was going to be nice to have a little bit of separation of church and state.
Right.
But
I love your honesty. I love it.
I had complete faith in what she was doing. She spent about a year, and this is kind of an interesting part, at least from our perspective of what we learned. She knew the retail side and everything else, but we didn't know pet.
Yeah.
We didn't know pet food. We didn't know grooming. We didn't know, owning a business. We talked to folks in the pet industry, Deborah did, in Charlotte, in Portland, in Austin, in every town around, and they were so forthcoming. It was actually one of the more really enlightening and positive aspects of the whole process of starting a business, that this pet community was very responsive to our questions, because they didn't look at us as threats or competitors.
Yeah.
They looked at us as kind of a new entry into this really strong pet industry. And, they realized that we were in it for the good reasons. We wanted to help pet owners. We wanted to, be very natural and positive. We wanted to give back to rescues. And so they were very forthcoming with information about how they started and what problems they had. And so we've always been that way as well. We, while we're not going to necessarily tell everybody every secret that we have, or
yeah, you're not
somebody open up right in our backyard. People in other towns have called us, and we've been like this. We're very forthcoming. We want to help people learn from our mistakes or improve upon what they're doing, and maybe we can glean some information from them as well. It was really neat to be welcomed in.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I do believe we are stronger together, and our like your competition is the other indie. It's really not. Our biggest competitor is not even just the online stores or big box, but it's really like our customers' time, and they only have so many dollars to spend, and it's where they're going to choose to put that money. So our biggest competition is really like that customer's time and their wallet, and how are they going to make decisions. And it's about, winning people over and focusing on how we can improve ourselves instead of feeling like threatened by the next little business that's trying to make it for themselves, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah. And, all the pet retailers, every time we go on a factory tour, or we go somewhere and talk to some of our manufacturer reps or even the distributors, they recognize that this is a really, really tough business.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to succeed and to grow, given the challenges, online challenges, it's tough.
Yeah.
You mentioned we have 6 stores, and we're thrilled to be that size, but there are stores that have one store that are great. We've got other chains that have 30, 40. We've all got the same sorts of issues to address, whether it's the pet food industry or personnel or anything like that. So.
Yeah. I did have one of our, I work one-on-one with clients, and I also have a community called the Pet Boss Club, which is our monthly group mentorship program. And we've got about 150 small businesses in it. And they range everywhere from people who do maybe $50,000 a year up to $5 million a year. And one of the business owners who's on the higher end of the multiple millions, and she said to me, she's like, you know what, after I've been doing this for almost 18 years, and what's really interesting is that I may not have the cash flow problems that some of the younger businesses do. I have the exact same problems though otherwise, employee problems, marketing, big box, competing for customers' time. Like, it's all the same problem. It's just the bank account may look a little bit better, So, all right, well, let's talk tonight about your success and how you've gotten to have the 6 stores. One of the things I really want to talk about is the concept of expansion and scaling. So at first, you started with your one location, and in the article, it mentions that it was about 1,800 square feet and grew to now 5,000 square feet. So let's talk first about your initial expansion of that space. Yeah. Tell me anything you can.
Right. So think about it from, 1,800 square feet was half dedicated to grooming services. Mm-hmm. So 2 self-serve dog wash bays and 2 little spaces for a groomer. And then, less than 1,000 square feet for retail space. Mm-hmm. So very long and narrow. Think of kind of like a rectangle, very long, thin rectangle. And if you think back to December or November of 2007 when we opened, right at the height of the mortgage crisis, mm-hmm. we were literally terrified that we were going into an industry at a time when people were cashing out 401ks just to, be able to survive. Right. And how were they going to actually, spend good money for grooming services, for more expensive natural dog food. And so we stepped in as opposed to leaping in because we just had to make sure that it worked. And within 9 months or so, we realized that people were still very willing and receptive to our approach and had been waiting for something like this, to the point where we had more demand than we had space in the grooming, and we had too limited of a product offering because we only had 900 square feet of retail space. Mm-hmm. So luckily the space next to us was available, So we went from, we more than doubled our capacity within the first year or so, or after the first year.
Now, did you stay in that? So the 5,000 you have now, is that still that same location, or did you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we cut a hole in this. We cut a hole in the wall, and at first it was pretty much one side walking through a little tunnel area or a little walkway area into the other side. But then subsequent remodels, as they mentioned in the article, we've done this probably 3 or 4 times now. We just knocked down the whole wall. Which is hard to do when you don't close even for the night. We didn't close for one single day. We just kept on renovating during the course of our periods of time when we were open, and that's when we realized that we could do this. It took us about 4 years to become truly comfortable with that setting and the amount of space and the retail assortment and our combination of, we actually tried things that didn't work. And so that would be one of the takeaways. We had a bakery. And as much as people thought that the bakery was kind of a cute thing to have on site, and it smelled nice when the ovens were going, it was not as profitable. It didn't cover its expenses. So that space was much more valuable from a retail perspective. And then we would just get our cookies from a wholesaler.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that. We have some clients who have been able to build like really, really successful bakeries, but they've been doing it a long time, and they've had some help and strategy, and it's really what they're known for. And they're super unique, super unique. So they've been able to make it really successessful. Then on the flip side, in my own experience too, I had a bakery at one of my first businesses, and in Chicago, the rent is so crazy expensive that there's no way it was going to work having the equipment take up half the space and then bake the cookies for the front. So when I redid my store, the same thing. I was like, I'm not baking anymore. Half of it was because I didn't want to actually do the baking anymore. but the bakery case itself, the concept of selling cookies still does well. But yeah, there's plenty of people out there willing to bake cookies for you. You don't have to be the one to do it.
Oh, the cookies are one of our most popular items. It's just not the time and expense that we incur to manage it ourselves.
Exactly.
And it just wasn't our core competency, right? We got into pet food, which is, that was a big focus of ours, the pet nutrition, and then the self-serve dog wash, and then the grooming. So the grooming and the supplies, and not necessarily the bakery component or smaller things like that. Let somebody else that's their focus, let them do that.
Right. So I think you cut out when you were saying earlier for me, you stayed open the whole time during your expansion?
We did. We would just do things. We'd knock things down at night and open up the next morning.
Yep. There's a question here in the chat. They're curious if you rented your space, or if you ended up buying the building.
Oh, we lease all of our spaces. I mean, I think we've gone down that path. We'd love to buy something. I think that there's definitely benefits in owning your own capital to build equity behind it. I think if we were to do another store, we certainly look at that at first and foremost. In our market, there just hasn't been a lot of available spaces to purchase. Plus, honestly, each time we take out additional loans for the tenant improvement, to fill the store, to buy all the equipment. It's a huge financial endeavor. We'd love to buy it, but we haven't gotten to that.
Same thing here. Lee, just to answer your question too, it's like it really depends on your market. Like in Chicago, where I'm at, I would love to have bought all the properties we were in, and even the current one I'm in. But to buy the property is about $2.5–3 million. And so to buy the property, a mortgage payment on that property, my business could never even afford the mortgage payment. It wouldn't make sense. So my rent payment would be lower than my mortgage payment. So it just depends on your market. If you can buy the property, personally, if you can buy the property, that's absolutely the way to go, and then have your business pay your rent to you. Because in the end, it's like if you sold your business, but you still personally own the building, the new business owner could be paying you rent, right? So that is the perfect scenario, but it just depends on your market. In a shopping center, are you mostly in shopping centers?
We are. We've got pretty much all of them are in what you'd call a strip center, so not inside of the mall, but in a strip center. And we've always looked to kind of have an anchor. In Columbus here, it's Kroger, it's Giant Eagle, it's large grocery chains. We're across from a Whole Foods, which is nice because that Whole Foods customer, and there's a fresh time market, so that kind of that Whole Foods sort of approach to it. They're willing to spend a little bit more on that healthy approach to nutrition. They understand the benefits of a healthy diet for not only themselves but their family members.
Yeah, that's a very, very smart decision, is to have that anchor there and the type of customer that you want too. All right, so in the scaling piece of it, how did you know? So you said you stayed in there for 4 years. When you opened your second location, because I often find that people, when you're in the process of the second location, the second one can be the biggest challenge. And then maybe third and fourth is not as challenging. They still have their own challenges, but they were not as difficult as that second once it's open, because you're, as a small business owner, just not used to dividing your time as much to now having this other location. So what key things is it that you did that helped you in the scaling process?
Yeah, so you're exactly right. Our first and second were by far the toughest. It took us 4 years to get comfortable with the first space to open a second. It took us 4 years in the second to open up another. And the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, they are literally almost carbon copies of themselves, because we feel pretty good about the template. It's all the same floor. It's all the same hardwoods. It's all the same materials. Each one is a little bit different just in shape and size, but the second one was absolutely a bear to do, because we wanted to not replicate some of the challenges that we had by having to remodel multiple times that we did the first time around. So we put a lot of time and effort into the second one. We're actually remodeling it as we speak. We've been open there for now 8 years, and we are going through our first major remodel. So 8 years later, we realized that it's time that our second child needs a makeover.
Yeah. Well, sometimes we all need a little facelift. I don't know.
This is a pretty major facelift. We're gutting the whole grooming area. It's tough. And again, we're going to cut down grooming for one day.
Only one day. Wow.
One day, and then we'll work around it from then on. So.
Yeah. And for those of you that are watching live and making comments, I see your questions. We will get to you. Okay, so with so what would be the best if either what you know now, if you could go back and tell yourselves when you were going to that second location, like what would you tell yourself to consider that you maybe didn't think about?
Store flow, right? So kind of the floor plan as it would be. It seems so simple. You put up shelving and you make it fit, but there's absolutely a logic associated with getting the best traffic flow in there. And that has been our biggest thing. I mean, while the structure has been fine, we've realized over time that we needed to put different things in different places. And as simple as that sounds, it's a huge undertaking. You don't want to do it too many times, because then obviously customers become accustomed to where things are, and they want to have a quick and easy access to their stuff. But we put our items like food in the back that they're coming for every 3 weeks. We make sure that people have to pass by some of the hard goods, the higher profit margin, kind of the more ancillary or the things that they don't necessarily need, but they want to pick up along the way, towards the front that they have to go through and go past it. It's kind of the IKEA model, right? If you've ever been to an IKEA, you know where you want to go and you want to get to that thing, but you got to pass by every other section of kitchenware and cabinetry and all that kind of stuff, which spawns the idea that maybe you need to buy something else along the way. So
Yeah.
That's kind of where so now we've started to, and we worked with some of our retail partners, like distributors and such, and who had like a Prism program, to actually lay it out in a logical format so that in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th stores, we haven't had to move anything. We feel pretty good about where it is, but we've rejiggered a couple of times in the other places.
Yeah. There's a question about flow here that just popped up. They're curious if you found, in your experience, having a point of sale system cashier area, if it should be located like in a. Do you notice a difference?
Oh, we always put ours right by the front, if nothing else, to be able to welcome people into the store. That's a huge part of it. We evangelize to have our staff being as forthcoming and inviting as possible. That is the face of our business. It's the first thing people recognize. Aside from kind of the wood that's in there, they feel like there's a natural feel to it, which is why we called ourselves kind of a natural pet center, natural food and a natural look to it. Absolutely. We put all of our cash wraps right by the front door. Several of them have like 2 doors, and we put a cash wrap on each side so you can access it or exit it on each side. But yeah, it's where we want people to. We want to greet them, ask them if they have questions, and if they are interested in having an engaged conversation, we start right there. If not, we catch them on the way out.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think depending on the size of the store, the center one can work, but it has to be at the center, kind of still towards the front. It can't be like tucked away in the back, because of that. Think of how many times that we all walk into a store sometimes, and there might not be a lot of staff scheduled, but they're so busy at the back, and you're kind of like walking around, and you never even make it halfway past through the back, and then you're out the door, and you never even really gave anyone working there a chance to get to engage with you. So I agree. I like it up at the front too. All right, cool. So the other question, we haven't talked much yet about the grooming and the service side of the business. In scaling that, finding groomers, good groomers, and dealing with kind of the HR side of things can be a challenge. And Victoria has a question in here about how you handle, how many groomers you have on site, and how you deal with the diva and the diva attitude in most of the grooming salons. So, because that even goes to I want to know more about the grooming, but that even goes to the scaling model too, about company culture and team. And so let's just talk just about the grooming department to begin with, and then we can talk about the whole company culture.
Grooming, let's see. Just going to make sure that none of our groomer staff is watching. But it is easily the most challenging, drama-filled component of our business. They are great. They're all terrific at their job, but a good groomer is hard to find. And so staffing a grooming salon, or even the grooming part of our business, is a constant task. We've just put it in place that it's a team effort, whether it's on the retail side, the management side, or on the grooming side. And we don't really allow for, or if there are diva components to it, we get that rectified pretty quickly, because we want everybody to know that the expectations that we have are what our customers have, and that is always about the safety and care of the pets, and not going rogue or doing things their way. We have our own safety protocols that are in charge. We do it in a kennel-free environment, so we don't have anybody, we don't use crate dryers, we don't kennel them during the course of time. It's kind of like a hair salon. You get an appointment, we know if we're going to do a pit bull spa bath and it's only going to take 45 minutes, that's all they're going to be in there for. If it's a 90-pound curly-haired golden doodle, it's going to take, 2 hours and 45 minutes, we schedule that amount of time too.
Right.
But there really isn't a lot of time for people to get too far off pace because, the next dog's coming in right after that.
Right.
We're not going to be the cheapest grooming place ever, but people will also obviously they recognize that we are going to be doing the finest jobs for them, and so they're willing to pay a little bit for that. And then ultimately, that's where the groomers themselves recognize the value of working for us because it's all commission based. And so if they're getting a regular repeat business and they don't have to schedule or do anything, we have the centralized scheduling system. I'm sitting in her desk right now. We have a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday scheduling manager who takes all the phone calls. So really, schedulers schedule and the groomers groom.
Yep. See that? Okay. There's two things here you've said that we need to dig into deeper. The first one is the whole 9 to 5. Well, now again, as you scale, you can't have all these phone calls coming in all the different times to different places. And this is because I know this from my own doggy daycare doing grooming, that when the front desk people, whenever we hire a new front desk reservation person, the grooming schedule gets totally out of whack because they don't know the intricacies of booking grooming appointments and the length of time. Even if the reservation system tells them exactly how much, right? It always messes it up. And so we've thought about that too, where like all the grooming phone calls go to like one person who's like the master at making reservations, knows what to charge. And we haven't ever put it in place, but it sounds like, so you've done that. That's brilliant. I think that's super smart.
If I could just add to Candace, that's exactly why we did that. And there is a bit of a science to it. I mean, not to overhype the value of it, but we've got bathers and groomers, and there's prepping associated with it, and it has to be done right, or else the groomer is going to be short of time, the customer is going to be disappointed. So we really put all of the emphasis of doing the scheduling correctly on one person or a couple people. There's a weekend scheduler as well. So we train them. The other benefit is if we can't get somebody in at one store, that person can quickly look in the system for an alternate on the same day or on a different day or anything. So we're not intentionally sending people across town. We're going to try to find something very logical. And sometimes people will say, hey, look, I'll wait another week just so I can go to my store with my groomer. But yeah, the scheduling is critical. The software system is good enough, but the people are really what makes it work. And yeah, we've seen a huge benefit. I'm looking at a board right now where she's got in her office, she has all 6 stores in their weekly plan on the board, and we just do a daily tally to see whether we're on schedule to meet our plan store by store. So it's important to be on top of that all the time, and having one person, like you said, who's the master craftsman or craftswoman in this case, is a huge benefit.
Yeah.
When we got that big, one store, it wouldn't be enough. It wouldn't be warranted. But when we got to 3 stores, or even I think when we had the 4th one, that's when we pulled the trigger on a centralized phone system.
Well, I guess I wouldn't be able to pay. I wouldn't be able to, in my one doggy daycare location, I wouldn't be able to justify like a salary really of like one person who does this.
Right.
But if the phones could somehow be like redirected, like, when people call into a phone line and they've got an option to say, I want to talk to someone because my dog is in your care right now, or I want to talk to someone to make an appointment, at least the phone could get redirected to the office where the managers are or something. There's ways to definitely simplify the system.
Yep. Ours is press 1 to schedule or cancel, or check on a grooming appointment. Press 2 to reach a retail store.
Yeah.
That's it.
I love it. There is a question about what grooming software you're using. Are you open to sharing that?
Sure. We use Appointments Plus.
Okay.
We found it to be pretty good. It has, it's some limitations. I think that the emails that go out to customers for confirmations it's not as slick as what people would expect nowadays. The online scheduling system, because people can schedule online themselves, is not probably as intuitive as we'd like it to be. But from a standpoint of moving appointments, having visibility, taking notes on all of the appointments, and having the groomers add their notes in, it's a great repository for all that information.
Another grooming question is, do you pay a set fee for your groomers, or do they rent your space?
So they're all employees. They're W-2 employees, but they're entirely commission based. The commission is based upon what service they're doing. So we pay, a set commission for what are kind of more the prototypical grooms, the haircuts, and a lesser commission for just kind of the bath and nail trim portions, because those are just kind of a little bit quicker and easier. But they are entirely commission based.
Okay. Now, the other thing that you said, I just want to get back to one of the things we were talking about, the diva groomers, is you said that you emphasize that it's a team effort in the whole company. What do you do, or what do you say, or to encourage that team effort? Is it a precedent that's set in the beginning, and you kind of had, as people come on, and you had to move out the people that had attitudes that weren't in the team environment, or do you have specific strategies you do regularly to help create a team?
Yeah, I think that's an area where we need to get better. Okay. Each person is kind of working on their own. They have their own appointments. And some people, they're smaller teams. So I think somebody asked how many groomers we have. So at our biggest location, we have 5 full-time groomers and a full-time bather, so 6 people. Our newest store, we only have 1 person, and there's a few in between. One's got 3, and one, the others have 2 or so. But each one of those folks comes to us and recognizes that because we're doing it in a kennel-free environment, they kind of appreciate the fact that we're taking that time. We're handling all of the scheduling. We're handling all of the checkout, the financial checkout. All they have, we're asking them to do is check people in, do the work, to the quality, the highest level of quality that we can possibly do in the time that's been allotted. And if we need more time, they put it in their notes, and the next time they'll get scheduled for more time. I think from a team perspective, we need to do more with that, because it seems like everybody is very individual. They're working in a team environment, but probably what we need to be doing better is getting everybody together on a regular basis, because you're open 7 days a week and we groom 7 days a week. It's tough.
And I love your honesty there too, because it's like, just getting everyone to commit to even a monthly meeting, is a struggle sometimes. They don't know why they have to come to company meetings. And creating a good team environment is what, HR is is probably the biggest hurdle for almost every small business, every business in the country, right? But the more that you guys can focus also on your team, for those of you watching, it will be the game changer also for helping you grow your business, because people do want to work somewhere that they enjoy and that they love. And actually, the statistics now are saying that people will actually work for less if they just like where they work, because they're not as driven by money as previous generations. So
well, yeah, and and there's something to be said. Obviously, turnover is a really tough thing. You have to go through more training. On a grooming side, you lose clients sometimes. I mean, I think we've been able to luckily retain most of our clients because it's not just normally one person. They respect the way that we do the business, as opposed to a big box PetSmart or something where it's more of an assembly line and you're crated at times. But yeah, they grow to really respect. We've always said, that in the grand scheme of things, a pet owner takes their vet's word probably first, and then their groomer's close behind, because they've got the hands-on experience with their pet and sees everything. And then somewhere down the road, we come in when we talk about pet nutrition and other things.
Mm-hmm. All right. Then one last question that's on here, because then we got to move out of the whole expanding and scaling because we have so much more to still talk about. But I love this question from Wendy is about if you're neighbors, since you're in strip centers and you've got grooming, and I know that grooming dogs can be really loud, if any of your retail neighbors ever complain about the barking or the noises that are coming from your grooming salons, like to the landlord or I don't know.
I think what we had one in our very first store who it wasn't really the barking, it was the blow dryers. But
yeah.
but we nothing major, nothing that we've ever had significant over. No.
I do think it depends too on if you are. I feel like residents are much more likely to complain. Neighboring commercial tenants. Okay, so let's move on to in the article you talk about your 7 P's. Well, I don't know if you call them 7 P's, but they feature the P's in business that you and Deborah divide up. And I'm going to run through them all individually here so that everyone can take notes. If you didn't look at the article, take notes right now. The 7, because they're all so important. They are critical to business. And I think oftentimes we focus too much on some of these and forget about the other ones. All right, so the 7 P's are purchasing, right? You've got to purchase your products and purchase goods, hardware. You've got your product assortment, which there's a great question in the chat for that, product assortment. And then procurement, which is a very corporate term, but I love it, procurement. And that is the negotiating and the buying of those products that you're going to assort, right? And then you've got your pricing of those products. That is critical. That's critical is pricing your products. The personnel piece, we've talked about that a little bit tonight, personnel. And then for you guys, you've got your new store placement. Where are you going to be opening other locations and scaling? And then there's promotion. You got to promote all your products to get not only just the new customers in, but how to keep the people who already have discovered you coming in regularly. So we've got purchasing, product assortment, procurement, pricing, personnel, new store placement, and promotion. All right, Mark, what's your favorite thing to do on that list?
I'm only in charge of the 3, so I don't even dabble in the others. So the personnel, the new store placement, and the promotions part. I mean, obviously, promotions is I think the most interesting because you have. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways you can go about it, but for too long we've just focused on email marketing to our existing customers, and at some point in time, you just have to put your emphasis into filling up your coffers with new customers.
Yeah.
You have to go out and get those people, whether it's going to events, direct mail. I'm going to put one up here. Here's our. Yeah.
So I love that you do direct mail. I have been talking. You are like probably the 3rd person we've interviewed during Cool Stores over the last couple of years who's like loves direct mail, and it works really well for them. And I've got some other private clients who do it well too, but I would love to talk more about this because I think people try direct mail once and it doesn't work, but there's so many layers to it. Like the actual card, your card's adorable. Hold that up again. Like, yeah, you've got your branding really big. The 20% off is really big. It's green, colorful. You've got dogs on it. You're talking about all this stuff. You've got your awards that you've won up at the top. Like,
there we go. Coolest store.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about direct mail, because you can do every door direct mail through the U.S. Post Office. And nowadays, so few people are actually getting good mail, physical mail, because most of the things have gone online. And unless you're a small business owner at a retail store, I feel like we get lots of mail, but people in their homes aren't getting as much mail as they used to. So talk more about the success of your direct mail.
So in that 12-year period when I was working at JP Morgan Chase and we were starting the business or kind of, growing and ramping up the business, that's what I did. as my job. So I handle direct mail for on the consumer side of our banking business, and direct mail is not cheap. I think that's one of the blocks into the entry of doing direct mail, because it's not inexpensive by any means. And you have to keep in mind that the average response rate for a direct mail piece is like 1%. So if you send out, 1,000 cards, you're going to get maybe 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 new customers from that. And it is hard to rationalize spending, $1,500 to get 20 new customers, but you have to think about it from the lifetime value of those people, right? So if you get 50 customers, or if you go to an event and you spend, 3 hours there or 5 hours there, and there was an entry fee of $100 and you had to pay some payroll and your time and energy, even if you just get 10 or 12 new customers from it, if you can create those to be lifetime customers, it pays for itself.
Right. Okay, so you were mentioning events, the direct mailer. What else do you do for promotions to get new customers?
Yep. So social media advertising is big. You get a bigger reach, and that's kind of how a lot of people want to get their engagement with new places. The challenge with it is you don't get a lot of time to tell your story, and if you do have a good story or a big story, you have to figure out, do you talk about yourself, or do you just throw out an offer? And in today's society, we're not going to win the pricing battle all the time. Chewy might win that. So we have to advocate for someone to come to our store because of the specialness. I don't know if that's a word. The extra special value that you get from our people, or our product assortments, or whatever it is, all those other P's. Because we're not going to always be the low cost provider. That's right. We've come to that, and that's not what people expect from us, I don't think.
Yeah, I was in it's a non-pet store, but a pet business could totally do this. I just saw something on social media that was a local brick and mortar had filled their a big window with a big vinyl decal sticker on it, and it just said, "We're way more fun, or our experience. You'll have a much better experience here than you will online. We're way more fun than shopping online." So trying to pull people in to just remind them with this huge, massive sign, and it's super fun. It's got fun colors, and it's super playful. I think it's like a women's boutique, but it does. It reminds people that, oh yeah, we need to go support our local businesses. So
right. And then there are the other things that they won't be able to get otherwise, and you can correlate that into the price, like frequent buyer programs. You can't, the self-serve dog wash. There's a frequent bather program. So, you can find ways to promote the cost effectiveness, even if you aren't the bottom line, least expensive service offering or product offering.
Right. Okay. So then moving on to that, talking about how to make some more money here is the concept of cross-selling and upselling. In the article, it references that your store layout really helps play a role in that. But let's talk more about the concept of cross-selling and upselling.
Sure. So when we have new hires, when we bring folks on, our biggest focus is always on pet nutrition and food, because every dog has to eat. Not every dog needs a new bully stick or a new toy each time. But we absolutely make that front and center with our team, that we're not a hard sell sort of approach. We're not coming in here and saying, you're a bad pet parent if you don't buy your dog a blank. Your dog isn't going to be healthy if you don't buy them a blank. That's not our way of doing it. But we do make sure that we always, try to pair things up that are a logical connection to what they're shopping for. So if they're buying a particular type of grain-free food, we'll offer up some grain-free treats. If they're going for a particular protein, say, duck food, we'll go for something that has a logical correlation to a bone or chew that has that same type of ingredient. Because by itself, dog food is not going to cover our expenses. The margins are just too low, and that to be competitive in our marketplace, we have to price them at a spot where we're only going to make 25% margin or so on dog food. But bully sticks and cookies and other, hard good toys and collars, beds, the margins are there. It's just you have to work a little harder to sell those, but it's always something worth asking when they're in the store shopping for that thing.
Yeah. So cross-selling, everybody, is when you want to item that can marry together with what they're already buying. So like you said, the dog food that's grain-free, and then a treat that's grain-free, that's cross-selling. When we upsell, it's going to be getting the customer to buy something that's more expensive than the other option you showed them. So maybe you show them one option and you show them another option, and then you can convince them through your sales, through the features and benefits of why this more expensive one is a better choice, right? So that can happen in the dog food area, and depending, maybe it can happen in collars or harnesses or potentially even dog toys. Sometimes the more expensive, dog toys, plush toys. You've got when someone wants a squeaky plush toy, you've got your cheap ones that are going to get destroyed right away, and then your more tougher, more durable plush toys are more expensive, and so that would be upselling them to a more expensive one, right?
Or in our example is, we sell individual bully sticks, or then we pre-package them for a slightly discounted rate, and you can buy one, or you can buy 6, or you could buy 12.
12, yeah. I went into a store recently and they had bully sticks bundled in sets of 10. And I remember in my store, I didn't bundle them like that. I just would do promotions like buy 4, get 1 free, or buy 3, get 1 free. And I always changed the promotion depending on how much inventory we had. But it was so amazing to me because I was like 10, 12-inch bully sticks. Like that's a big sale right there. That's one item that's going to cost a lot of money. But they had them there packaged, and I thought, I was almost like, dang it, I wish I would have done that in my shop. I probably would have sold a lot more.
Yeah, we have an entire end cap dedicated to just bags of bully sticks.
Yeah, bags of bully sticks. I love it. Directly next to the bulk bin, and we'll always, tell people, the bag of 12 is a better deal, or the bag of 6 is a better deal. And then they look at it and it's already in a bag. So they've got it sealed up, it stays fresh. That is our great upsell opportunity. Why make multiple trips to grab more bully sticks? Just grab a bundle now. Yeah, I love it. And speaking of merchandise, Ryan, I don't know if he's still watching, but Ryan had a question about just sourcing products. And so I asked Ryan in the chat what state he was in, but looks like he's beginning a pet boarding and a daycare business. And so he's had a hard time finding distributors for retail products. And he's looking for recommendations on products that are not just available at big box stores. So now I know it was interesting for me when I went, when I left and I sold my store and I really was focusing on my doggy daycare. There's this whole other part of the industry that just focuses on doggy daycares. And they really don't have, I don't think they're getting promoted the access of, they're not like, the product manufacturers are not getting in front of those service providers as much as they do in the retail space. So I'd love to hear what Mark has to say. I mean, for me, I love wholesalepet.com. We always send people there. That's a great place to go to source independent brands. They're like the Amazon. I'm not an Amazon in the sense of like pricing, but like they're basically a one-stop shop for you to find hundreds of manufacturers, and then Wholesale Pet sends the orders to the manufacturers and they ship to you. How about you, Mark? Who do you like to use when it comes to distributors?
Each one is a little bit local or regional, I should say.
Yeah.
But we probably get about 75% of our products directly through 3 distributors, because it's too hard to manage buying
individuals, especially when you've grown.
Yeah.
When you've grown.
So I mean, big players, Phillips or Animal Supply, or
he's in Georgia. So so Phillips, Animal Supply. We also partner a lot with Pet Food Experts. They do not distribute to Georgia, though, I don't think. Yeah. Sorry, Ryan. Maybe someday, but they're great. And
I mean, there are bunches of them around. If you're in Georgia, Ryan, Global Pet Expo is in February this year, and you can go and meet every manufacturer and every distributor under the sun.
Yeah, go to Global Pet Expo.
It's a few months away, but it's worth it, because then you can talk to everybody.
Yeah. And hey, Ryan, if you're really up for it, come on up to Chicago and come to the Pet Plus Wellness Summit in a couple weeks. All right, awesome, cool. So we got Ryan's question answered. And is curious about if you do any boarding or daycare. I don't think you do, because we haven't talked about that. So then, is there a reason you haven't, or any desire to?
Too much space required. Too much of a truly almost it's a insurance liability. It's really, your rates go up much higher when you're talking about actually taking care of pets on an extended basis. A lot of the strip centers that we've been in, it's written into the zoning that you can't have a pet run or overnight. You almost have to have like a freestanding location without those neighbors, like you mentioned. And the staffing would just be outrageous. So we're more than content with just offering the products. The grooming part is more than enough challenge to manage the people and the inflow and work required. So I couldn't even imagine doing anything else.
Yeah. And your retail hours is curious too. I mean, you can find them online too, I guess. But so you're Monday through, you're 7 days a week, I'm assuming.
Yep. And actually, we just we've been 9 to 9 during the week, and then kind of shortened hours on Saturdays and Sundays. We just actually, one of the big challenges that we had is we decided that we were going to close up at 8 o'clock going forward, because we looked at our historical sales, and it didn't warrant being open from 8 to 9 any longer.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a culture shock for some of the folks who were used to us being open during those hours, but they pretty much figured it out that they had to get there by 7:55 instead of 8:55.
Right. All right. Well, as we wind down here tonight, I don't know if you've had a chance to think about which one you want to share here, but do you have a favorite book or a quote or anything, any business resource you want to share with us?
It sounds corny, but a lot of what I gleaned business-wise was from when I worked at JP Chase. Jamie Dimon is the chairman and CEO of JP Morgan, and one of the more interesting guys that you could ever meet. And when I say meet, I met him in an elevator. And so you always have your 30-second elevator pitch. If you don't know what that is, you gotta be ready to go. And and I very literally had 30 seconds in an elevator with Jamie Dimon. And I think all I really got from him was just total honesty and a focus on customers. He has always put all of his own personal things aside, and has just been hyper focused on what is best for the customers, the employees, and the business as a whole. And we absolutely stick to our guns. We've done things, when certain brands were no longer as viable as what we thought they should be, because the quality of the product was going down. We made a decision that we just weren't going to carry it anymore. And there's going to be a little bit of a bump in the road when you have to tell customers that you don't sell Blue Buffalo anymore, or you don't sell Merrick, and they're used to buying it from you for 8 years. and you might lose a few, but what you do gain is more heightened respect from everybody else, and you maintain that special kind of cachet in the marketplace. So don't be afraid to make a decision to go a different direction, or stay the course if you think it's the right thing.
All wonderful advice. Well, Mark, thank you so much for taking time tonight to talk with everybody. We had a great discussion, and I look forward to maybe meeting you at one of these upcoming trade shows and pet shows. And for everyone else watching, I hope that you come to the Pets Plus Wellness Summit. Just go to petsplusmag.com/summit. I'll definitely be there. And there's also the Pet Connections Expo. That's coming up at the end or middle of October too, in a few months. I know Pets Plus is also a sponsor with us there at that event. And make sure to save the date. We've got another cool store interview coming up on September 25th at 12 p.m. Eastern. I'll be interviewing Angela. 25th at 12 p.m. Eastern. We'll be back here with another interview for a cool store. And Mark, I just love it. I love your store look. I love the logo. I love everything about it. You need to come to Illinois. That's what you need to do. Any future expansion plans actually in other states?
I don't know if it's in other states. We have to figure that out. We get that question a lot. Yeah. I don't know if we're going to go down the franchise route, or if we don't have our own stores. That's the big question. Once you leave your comfort zone, how are you going to do it?
It's changer, but you've got enough locations now. You could consider franchising. So, well, whatever you do, I'm sure it'll be a success. And I'm happy that we had time together today. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching our Pets Plus Live Beyond the Pages. And I'll see you again next time. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks.